You want to attract a quality man. That's the goal, right? Someone who's emotionally available, confident, kind, driven, someone who makes you feel safe, seen, and desired. But here's the thing most people don't realize. The very first step in attracting that kind of man isn't about changing how you dress, learning clever texts to send, or even going on more dates. It starts with becoming the person that kind of man would be drawn to. Now, this isn't about changing who you are. It's about leveling up into the you that matches the standards you have. If you're looking for a man with direction, purpose, and maturity, you have to ask yourself, am I living in alignment with those qualities myself? You see, a lot of people build this list of what they want in a partner. And the list is long. He's got to be ambitious, funny, romantic, in shape, emotionally intelligent, stable, loyal. And hey, that's fair. You deserve someone amazing. But then the important part comes, am I also bringing those same things into the room? Because high quality people are looking for other high quality people. It's not about being perfect, but it is about self-awareness. If you want someone who takes care of their physical health, do you respect your own body? If you want someone financially responsible, are you handling your money in a way that reflects growth and accountability? If you want someone who's emotionally intelligent, are you working on your own triggers, being mindful in conflict, and learning how to communicate with love and clarity instead of blame? And this isn't about being good enough for someone. That's not the point. You're already enough. But this is about stepping into a version of yourself that's not just waiting for something great, but attracting it, because you're operating on the same frequency. So many people say there are no quality men out there. And look, I get it. The dating pool can be rough, but sometimes the quality men are just not tuned in to where you are because you're playing at a frequency beneath what you're asking for. Think about this. If a man walked into your life tomorrow, someone generous, grounded, serious about life and love, would he look at your current lifestyle and think, that's someone I want to build with? That's a tough question, but an honest one. If not, what needs to shift? You don't have to be a finished product. No one is. But there's a big difference between being in motion and being stagnant. A quality man isn't looking for perfection. He's looking for a woman who's invested in herself, her happiness, her growth, her fulfillment. And this isn't just about career or money. Maybe you're in a stage where you're still figuring out your path. And that's okay. What matters is that you're moving forward, not sitting back waiting for a relationship to give your life meaning. That energy, that movement, that commitment to self, that's magnetic because it tells a man that you're not just looking for a warm body to fill a space. You're building something beautiful. And he's either going to add to it or he won't fit in at all. And when you're in that space, something powerful happens. You stop chasing and you start choosing. You stop looking outward for validation and you start filtering differently. You see red flags faster. You don't excuse inconsistency. You don't entertain someone who isn't meeting your emotional needs. Not because you're cold or guarded, but because you've learned how to meet your own needs first. And now you're looking for someone who enhances what you already have, not someone who fills in your gaps. There's this idea that the right man will somehow swoop in and unlock all this love and happiness in you. But in truth, love doesn't work like that. Quality men aren't looking to rescue you. They're looking to join you. That's the difference. When you're operating from a place of self-worth, you're not waiting for someone to make your life exciting. You're already excited about your life. You're not waiting for someone to give you purpose. You have your purpose. And now you're looking for someone whose purpose can walk beside yours. This mindset shift is everything, because the second you start showing up from that place, the dynamics change. You're no longer asking, does he like me? You're asking, do I actually want to share my energy with this person? Does his character align with my values? Does he add to the peace I've built, or does he subtract from it? That's where your power is. That's where attraction becomes effortless, because you're not doing the dance of trying to prove your worth to anyone. You already know your worth. You've done the work. You've invested in yourself. And now the man who steps into your world has to match that investment. or keep walking. And here's the beautiful irony. When you become the version of you that you're proud of, you start attracting people who reflect that same level of self-respect and emotional maturity. And the ones who don't, they don't even linger. They feel the difference and they move on. So yes, there's a secret to attracting quality men. And it doesn't start with them. It starts with you. Because when you rise into your best self, the people who belong in your life will rise to meet you there. That's where the magic happens. So often I meet amazing women who tell me I have high standards, but it seems like men just disappear when I communicate them. And the truth is, it's not the standards that are pushing men away. It's how those standards are being expressed. And more importantly, it's whether those standards are being used as a healthy filter or as a fortress that no one can get through. Having standards is not only important, it's essential. They act as the compass that guides the kind of love you attract and accept. But here's where many people get tripped up. When you've been hurt before, or you've dealt with inconsistency, disappointment, or manipulation, it's easy to start confusing self-protection with self-respect. And suddenly, the standards that once came from a place of confidence start coming from a place of fear. That's when it starts sounding like, I don't put up with this, or he has to prove himself to me, or I'm gone, or if he really cared, he'd chase me. The problem with that? It's not inviting, it's defensive. And quality men who are emotionally intelligent, intentional, and looking for depth, they're not looking for someone who's trying to win a battle. They're looking for someone they can build something with. A standard says, this is what I value and this is what I'm looking for. A wall says, don't come close unless you can fight your way through. See the difference? One is empowering, the other is exhausting for both people involved. Let's talk about what it actually looks like to have standards in a way that's confident, not combative. When you have high standards, you're not walking around with a checklist and a megaphone announcing your worth. You're quietly living in alignment with your values, and you're willing to walk away from anything that doesn't meet them, not out of drama, but out of dignity. There's a big difference between saying a man better treat me like a queen or he can leave versus I'm looking for a relationship where mutual effort, respect, and emotional presence are just part of how we do things. When a quality man hears that, he's not scared. He's intrigued. He knows you're someone who doesn't settle, not because you're guarded, but because you're grounded. Think about this. When you go to a high-end store, the experience is welcoming, but they're not chasing you down to make a sale. You're drawn in by the atmosphere, by the confidence of knowing they're offering something valuable. That's what real standards look like in dating. You're open, you're warm, but you're not desperate to prove your worth or to convince someone else to meet you halfway. One of the most powerful things you can do is make peace with being misunderstood by people who are not meant for you. Not everyone will understand your boundaries. Not everyone will rise to the level of your emotional maturity. And that's okay. You're not here to be universally liked. You're here to be deeply seen by the right person. And when you carry your standards with grace, when you communicate them, not as ultimatums, but as an extension of your values, you become incredibly attractive to someone who's ready for the same kind of connection. Here's the beauty of it. Having standards doesn't mean you never compromise. It means you know what you won't compromise on. There's a difference between being flexible and being a doormat. The woman who bends for everything gets trampled, but the woman who's able to meet a man halfway without abandoning herself, she becomes unforgettable. And remember, a quality man doesn't want a woman who says yes to everything. He wants a woman who knows what truly matters to her. He's not turned off when you say, I'm looking for something meaningful, or I don't do casual if there's no direction. What turns him off is when that same message is delivered with hostility, entitlement, or a chip on your shoulder. The goal is never to scare someone into meeting your needs. It's to invite someone who already wants to. When you lead with resentment toward past relationships, toward men in general, or toward the dating world, you end up attracting people who either feed off that energy or feel like they have to constantly prove themselves to you. That's not partnership, that's a power struggle. But when you lead with clarity, kindness, and self-worth, you naturally attract someone who's on your wavelength. So if you feel like your standards are being misunderstood, ask yourself, am I using them to create space for the right person, or am I using them to push people away before they even have a chance to show me who they are? Because the truth is, many women are accidentally playing defense when they don't need to. They're waiting for a man to mess up instead of giving him space to show up. And here's something I want you to really take in. The right person doesn't just meet your standards, they appreciate them. They're not intimidated by the fact that you know what you want. In fact, that's what makes you different. That's what tells them she's not just looking to fill a void, she's building something real. And if I want to be a part of that, I need to bring my best. So don't shrink your standards to attract someone faster. Don't water down what you want because you're afraid of being alone. Your job isn't to convince someone to be good enough. Your job is to be so aligned with your own values that the wrong people filter themselves out and the right one sees you and thinks, finally. And that's how you attract someone who respects you before he even knows you, because the way you carry yourself tells the whole story. Let me tell you something that can shift the entire dynamic of how you attract someone, especially when we're talking about attracting quality men. One of the biggest misunderstandings in dating is this idea that if you really want someone, if you really care, then you have to prove it by constantly showing interest, being available all the time, and making them feel like they're the center of your world. But here's the thing, that's not attraction, that's dependency. And trust me, quality men don't respond to dependency, they respond to depth, self-assurance, and a genuine sense of presence without pressure. It's powerful to be interested in someone. It's human, it's beautiful, and it's essential to building any real connection. But there's a line between showing interest and giving off the energy of needing someone to choose you so that you can feel okay about yourself. That's the difference between attraction and chasing. One is magnetic, the other feels heavy. One invites a man to come closer, the other makes him want to pull away. We often confuse intensity for connection. You meet someone you really like and suddenly you feel this urge to constantly be in touch, to keep the momentum going, to never let the conversation drop. You think, if I don't text him today, he might forget about me. Or worse, if I don't show him how much I care, he might think I'm not serious. But what you're actually doing without realizing it is creating an imbalance. Because if someone feels like you need them to validate your worth, to complete your happiness, or to give you purpose, it doesn't feel like a partnership. It feels like pressure. A quality man doesn't want to feel like he's being chased down or like you're putting your entire emotional well-being in his hands. He doesn't want to feel like he's become your new life project. And it's not because he's afraid of commitment, it's because he wants to be with someone who already has a rich, full life. Someone whose happiness doesn't rise and fall depending on whether or not he texts back within the hour. When a woman can show interest without neediness, it's incredibly attractive. She's not pretending she doesn't care. She's just not desperate for a response. She's emotionally self-sufficient. She knows her value. She knows that her life is already good. She knows she would like to have someone special in it, but she doesn't need someone to fill a gap. And that subtle shift changes everything. It's the energy of, I'm choosing you, but I don't need you to choose me for me to feel whole. That is the energy of someone who is confident, someone who is emotionally grounded, and someone who isn't looking for a relationship to complete them, but to complement them. And that kind of energy, it's irresistible to the kind of man you actually want in your life. Let me paint a picture. Imagine two people standing in front of you. One of them is holding out a hand, saying, I really like you, I'd love to get to know you more, but I'm good either way. And the other one is clutching onto your arm, saying, please don't leave, I need you, I can't lose this. Now ask yourself, which one would you feel safer getting close to? Which one would you want to explore a relationship with? That calm confidence, that ability to be curious, open-hearted, but still rooted in your own sense of self, is what creates attraction that lasts. Because anyone can be infatuated, anyone can spark chemistry, but to build something real, something that actually grows into love, you have to start from a place of wholeness, not from a place of emptiness. And let's be honest, we've all had moments where we've felt the urge to prove ourselves to someone, to chase, to overgive, to lose ourselves in someone else's potential because we wanted to be chosen so badly. But that's when we give away our power. That's when we start bending ourselves into what we think they want rather than showing up as who we actually are. The moment you start centering someone else above yourself, before a real bond has even been built, you make them the prize. You tell them, you're more valuable than me, so I need to earn you. But the truth is, a relationship should never feel like a game where one person is trying to win the other. It should feel like two people discovering with curiosity and care if they can build something incredible together. So how do you show interest without slipping into need? You keep your life full. You keep showing up for your passions. You keep nurturing your friendships. You don't drop everything for a date that's planned last minute. You don't rearrange your life just to make someone think you're low management. You don't pretend you don't care, but you don't make them your everything either. If he texts, you respond genuinely. If you want to initiate conversation, go ahead. If you're thinking of him, let him know. But you don't sit by the phone waiting. You don't read into silence as a personal rejection. You don't lose sleep wondering if you said too much or not enough. You trust that if he's the right person, he'll be drawn to who you actually are, not some perfectly crafted version of you. And if he's not, you let him go. You don't beg, you don't bargain, and you don't break yourself to try and become more likable. Because you're not interested in just any man choosing you. You're interested in attracting a quality man, one who sees your value, not just when you're chasing him, but especially when you're standing tall in your truth. That's how you show interest without need. That's how you remain in your power even when your heart is open. And that's the kind of energy that draws in someone who's worth your time, your attention, and your love. You don't need to be chosen to feel worthy. You need to remember that you already are. You know, a lot of people get stuck on this idea that they have to be perfect to attract a high-quality man, that if they just looked a little better, had a little more going on, made fewer mistakes, or didn't have that one awkward habit, then someone amazing would show up and fall in love with them. But here's the truth, and it's something that flips the whole idea of attraction on its head. Confidence is magnetic, not perfection. See, what truly draws someone in isn't how flawless you are, it's how you carry your imperfections. It's how you walk into a room, not because you think you're the most attractive person there, but because you know your value doesn't depend on that. It's that quiet self-belief, that sense of, I know who I am, and I'm not here to prove it to you, I'm here to connect. That's what gets people leaning in. That's what makes you unforgettable. A lot of people walk around trying to perform their way into someone's heart. They try to be impressive. They try to say the right thing, look the right way, laugh at the right moments, and avoid showing any emotion that could be seen as too much. But here's what happens when you do that. You disconnect from you. You stop being real. You become a version of yourself that's palatable, safe, maybe even charming, but not intimate, not authentic. And guess what? The kind of man you really want, he's not looking for a highlight reel. He's looking for you. Confidence isn't about always knowing the answer. It's not about always being witty or knowing how to handle every situation perfectly. It's about being okay with not knowing. It's about saying, hey, I'm still figuring that out, or I messed up, but I'm learning. And being totally okay in that space. Because when you're comfortable being seen, not just for your best parts, but for the whole of who you are, that's where deep connection lives. You want to know something funny? In all the conversations I've had with incredible men who are emotionally intelligent, kind, ambitious. Their eyes don't light up when they talk about the woman who had it all figured out. They light up when they talk about the woman who was real, the one who wasn't afraid to laugh at herself, the one who showed up honestly, the one who didn't need to impress, but somehow did just by being herself. You don't have to be low maintenance to be attractive. You don't have to be the cool girl who never texts first. You don't have to pretend not to care to protect your pride. That's not confidence. That's fear wearing a clever disguise. True confidence says, I care and I'm not afraid to show it. I have feelings and I'm not going to punish myself for them. I'm interested in you and I'm not going to act like I'm not just to manipulate the situation. That's power. That's where attraction really lives. You know what scares off quality men more than anything? Inauthenticity. When someone's so wrapped up in being the perfect package that they forget how to be present. A quality man doesn't need you to be perfect. He needs to know he can trust you. And that starts with you being honest with him and with yourself. We live in a world that constantly tells us we need to be more attractive, more successful, more effortless, more this, more that. But what if you stopped trying to be more and just started being true? Imagine how freeing that would feel. Imagine the kind of man you'd attract if you showed up fully as you, no mask, no game, just real presence and real heart. That's what turns heads in the long run. That's what sustains love when the surface stuff fades. And look, I get it. It takes courage. It takes courage to say, this is me and I'm enough. It takes guts to be vulnerable in a world that praises perfection. But that's where your edge is. That's where your magic is. Not in your ability to impress, but in your willingness to connect. Not in how flawless your life looks, but in how honest you're willing to be. When you radiate that kind of confidence, the kind that says, I don't have to be perfect to be loved, you shift the whole dynamic. You stop chasing validation. You stop waiting to be chosen. And instead, you choose yourself. And from that place, you naturally attract someone who sees you, values you, and wants to build something with you, not because you played it safe, but because you were brave enough to be seen. So don't hide behind polish. Don't shrink your personality just to be liked. And don't think for a second that you need to earn love by being perfect. You are not here to audition for affection. You are here to connect, to be loved for who you are, not the version of you you think will be accepted. That's the difference between fleeting attraction and lasting intimacy. And that's where the real power lies. You know what's truly magnetic? A woman who's living a life that lights her up. Not because she's trying to impress someone, not because she's hoping someone will notice, but because that's who she is. That's what she does. She wakes up with a sense of purpose. She's got something that excites her, challenges her, pushes her to grow. And that energy, that is what draws people in, especially quality men. See, most people think attraction starts with appearance. And sure, there's a physical element at play, but that fades quickly if there's nothing deeper going on. What keeps someone interested? What makes a man lean in and want to know more is when he sees that your world doesn't revolve around a relationship. It revolves around you, your passions, your purpose, your joy, your inner fire. When you're connected to the things that make you feel alive, whether it's your career, your hobbies, your values, or your dreams, you emit a kind of confidence that's rare. A woman who's inspired by her own life doesn't seek validation from a man. She shares her life with him. And that difference changes everything. Because when a quality man meets you, he doesn't feel like he's stepping into a situation where he has to entertain you, complete you, or save you. He feels like he's joining someone who already knows how to create joy for herself. Men of quality, emotionally mature, grounded, ambitious men are not attracted to dependency. They're not looking for someone to fix or rescue. They're attracted to someone they can admire, someone who inspires them just by being herself. And that's not about status or money or accomplishments. It's about energy. You could be working your dream job or still figuring things out. It doesn't matter. What matters is that you're showing up in your life with curiosity, passion, and heart. Think about it. The most engaging people to be around are the ones who are deeply engaged with something. When you talk about what excites you, when your eyes light up, your voice shifts and your energy changes, that's when people lean in. That's when connection begins. It's not the job title. It's not the resume. It's the spark behind your words. That spark is what makes someone think, wow, I want to be around this energy more. Too often, people pause their own lives while waiting for love. They put their hobbies on hold. They downplay their goals. They shrink, thinking it'll make them more available. But what really happens is they stop being the most vibrant version of themselves. And when you dim your light, you don't attract someone who's capable of seeing your full brightness. You end up settling for someone who's only drawn to the quieter version of you. So the real question is, what makes you feel alive? When's the last time you lost track of time, doing something just because you loved it? When's the last time you did something for you, not for attention, not for approval, not for someone else's expectation, but just because it filled your soul? That's where your magic lives. And when you tap into that, you stop trying to get someone to like you because you're already showing up as someone you genuinely like. That's the version of you that quality men want to meet. The version who has her own thing going. The one who's not just looking for a partner to fill a void, but to amplify an already beautiful life. It's attractive, not just because of the independence, but because of the self-respect, because of the way you carry yourself, because of the message you're sending, without saying a word, that you are already whole. And let's be honest, love is a beautiful addition to life, but it's not the sole purpose of it. When you realize that, you stop putting pressure on every interaction. You stop measuring your worth based on someone else's response. And ironically, that's when you become the most irresistible, because you've taken the pressure off the outcome and you're simply being real, present, and authentic. You're not performing, you're not overthinking, you're just living fully. And when a man sees that you're not looking for him to be your world, but that you'd love to invite him into yours, that's powerful. That's what gets his attention. Not because you're playing hard to get, but because you're genuinely hard to replace. You become the woman who walks into a room with a quiet kind of confidence, not the loud, boastful kind, but the kind that says, I know who I am, I know what I bring to the table, and if you're the right person, I'd love to share this with you. That's it. No games, no gimmicks, just a grounded, lit up, passionate woman who's living in alignment with herself. And when you're in that space, you naturally filter out the wrong men, the ones who want to dim your light, control your path, or fit you into a version of what they think you should be. You don't have time for that. You're too busy living a meaningful life, which means you're only making space for someone who wants to grow alongside you, not keep you small. That's the secret. It's not about chasing, pleasing, or proving. It's about becoming the fullest, brightest, truest version of yourself, and letting that be the thing that attracts. And when it does, you won't have to question whether it's real, because the right person will love the fire in you, not fear it. You know, one of the biggest traps we fall into when it comes to love is mistaking chemistry for compatibility. And I get it. Chemistry is exciting. It's that spark, that magnetic pull you feel when you're around someone. Your heart races, conversation flows. You feel alive in a way you haven't in a long time. And you start telling yourself, this must be it. This is what I've been waiting for. But here's the truth. Chemistry can get you a date. It can even get you a few months into a relationship. But it's character that determines whether that relationship will actually last, or whether it will become something that nurtures you or drains you. So many of us have built our romantic decisions around a feeling, that flutter in your chest when he texts you back, the way he looks at you like you're the only one in the room, the way he makes you laugh, the banter, the charm. And none of that is bad. In fact, that's part of what makes love so thrilling. But we can't stop there, because if you don't look beneath the surface, if you don't pay attention to how this person is showing up when it matters, you might find yourself stuck in a situation that looks good on the outside, but leaves you feeling alone on the inside. When you're around a quality man, yes, there may be chemistry, but There's something more grounding, more stable. There's a kind of peace, a reliability, an integrity that shows up in the little things. He keeps his word. He doesn't play games. He doesn't disappear when things get tough. He doesn't only call when it's convenient for him. And he certainly doesn't make you feel like you're constantly auditioning for a role in his life. I want you to watch not just how he talks to you when he's trying to impress you, but how he treats the waiter when you're out to dinner, how he reacts when someone cuts him off in traffic, how he speaks about his ex, how he handles criticism or disappointment, or when life doesn't go his way. Because those moments, those are where character lives. Those are the glimpses into how he'll treat you when the honeymoon phase fades and real life sets in. You need someone who's consistent, not just in his words, but in his actions. Someone who doesn't just show up when it's easy, but especially when it's hard. That's character. That's what builds trust. That's what gives you the freedom to relax in a relationship and know that you don't have to constantly be watching your back or walking on eggshells. So often people say, he's amazing when things are good. But a quality relationship isn't about how someone acts when things are good. It's about how they behave when things aren't, when they're frustrated, when they feel insecure, when they're under pressure. That's when the mask falls away and the real version of someone steps forward. And here's the part we sometimes don't want to admit. Many of us have stayed in situations longer than we should have because the chemistry was too strong to walk away from. We told ourselves we could fix it, that he would change, that if we just loved him harder, if we were more patient, more understanding, maybe he'd finally step up. But love doesn't work that way. You can't change someone's character. You can't wish consistency into existence. You can't fill in the gaps for someone who's not willing to show up for you with integrity and effort. Don't get me wrong, no one is perfect. We all have our flaws. We all have moments where we mess up, say the wrong thing, or act from a place of fear. But character isn't about never getting it wrong. It's about how someone takes responsibility when they do. Does he apologize without being defensive? Does he acknowledge your feelings without making you feel guilty for having them? Does he listen to understand, not just to respond? These are the things that define the quality of a person, and they matter so much more than charm or charisma. Because in the long run, it's not the butterflies that will carry you through. It's trust, it's respect, it's mutual care. It's knowing that this person has your back, not just when you're smiling and laughing, but also when you're vulnerable, scared, or simply not at your best. Attracting a quality man isn't about being more desirable or playing harder to get or becoming someone you're not to match what you think he wants. It's about getting crystal clear on what you value and not compromising on those values just to keep someone interested. If he doesn't meet your standards, if his character doesn't align with your core, then no amount of chemistry will make it worth your peace. So when you meet someone new, I want you to slow down. I want you to ask better questions, not just to him, but to yourself. How does he make me feel when I'm around him? Do I feel safe, seen, respected? Does he follow through on what he says? Does he bring calm or chaos into my life? And most importantly, I want you to believe that you are worthy of someone who not only excites you, but who holds you with care, consistency, and character. Because love isn't just about who gives you the biggest rush. It's about who gives you the most peace.